CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.
Get the unmissable news stories of the day.
This is the Beijing Hour.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour. 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Starting you with you on this Friday, April 19th, 2024. You're listening to the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, Israel has confirmed that it has launched an attack on Iran. India's general election gets underway with incumbent Narendra Modi seeking a third term. Donald Trump's criminal trial has selected 12 jury members to hear the criminal hush money case. In business, China's agricultural and rural economy maintained steady momentum in the first quarter. In sports, Formula One action has returned to China after a 5-year absence. In culture and entertainment, the ancient Divan Granary has opened to the public. Now today's top stories. Security officials in Israel have confirmed that Israel has launched an attack on Iran. Local media say Iran has activated its air defense system in several regions. Both Iran and the United Nations nuclear watchdog say nuclear facilities in Isfahan are safe. Syria's defense ministry says Israel launched missiles and air defense facilities in southern Syria. There were also media reports about explosions in Iraq. Sam Menik with the Associated Press has more.
Iran's semi-official state media said that explosions blasts were heard over the central city of Isfahan in the northwest part of the city. Now, Iran has activated its defense system. There are also commercial flights that diverted from western Iran. This does come days after Israel said that it was going to strike Iran back for the missile strike that happened over the weekend. Israel's war cabinet has been meeting to discuss how they were going to respond. Now, Isfahan has military bases. It also has sites that support Iran's nuclear program. But Israel's state media has reported that Israeli officials had told the United States officials that it was not going to strike civilians or nuclear facilities. We have these applications that show the air alarms going off, and several air alarms did go off in the north of Israel this morning. It's unclear if they were false alarm or not, but Israel could be on high alert right now because Iran had said that is if Israel hits it back, it said that it's going to strike Israel harshly and quickly.
That was AP reporter Sam Menik in Jerusalem. U.S. officials also told media in the country that Israel had attacked Iran. A CNN report on Thursday says that a senior official said Israel gave the U.S. notice that it would carry out retaliation. Nick Harper has this update from Washington.
Various other bits of information that has been reported at the U.S. military saying that this strike was, in their words, limited. They also say that the U.S. was given notification ahead of this strike by Israel, but saying that the U.S. did not endorse the attack, also making it clear from U.S. officials that the U.S. was not involved in any of this action, that this was Israel acting alone. Well, it does seem as if the main strike seemed to be located around Isfahan in the northwestern part of the city. It's about a 4-hour drive from the capital, Tehran. One of the Iran state television networks there is saying that Isfahan has not been attacked. And yet another Iranian channel has been saying that 3 drones were shot down over the city. Other reports from Iranian state media saying that the nuclear facilities that are located in the city are secure and they remain unharmed. That reporting coming from Iranian state television suggesting that the battery systems, the air defense systems that Iran has set up were firing at objects in the air. As I mentioned, another report suggested that 3 drones had been downed over the city. But it does seem clear, at least from that one report, and like I say, there are other conflicting reports, that those air defense systems were in action and that they certainly were shooting at something, some projectile that was in the sky earlier on.
That was Nick Harper on reports from the U.S. and Iran about the Israeli strike. For discussions about the latest moves, Li Dongning spoke with Director Wang Jin of the Center for Israel Studies at Northwest University.
Do you think it's a retaliatory move by Israel
Of course, that should be considered as a very retaliation move from Israel towards Iran, because after the last weekend that we know that Iran launched the large waves of missile and drone attacks against Israel, and Israel leaders and their very high-level officials have repeatedly stressed that Israel will retaliate, although there were no United States very direct assistance. On the one hand, Israel launched the strikes against the targets inside Syria, inside Iraq, where these targets might have very close ties with Iran, and on the other hand, inside Iran territory, that some targets has been attacked, and this attack might be very likely be considered as the retaliation efforts from Israel against Iran.
And Iran's Fars news agency reports an explosion was heard in the central Iranian city of Isfahan. And as we know, this province hosts several nuclear sites, including the centerpiece of Iran's the uranium enrichment program. How would you assess the severity of this incident?
I think it is a very direct challenge from Israel against, as you mentioned, the very nuclear sites of Iran. Because when we're talking about the nuclear sites, it is very sensitive targets, and also it might lead to the escalation of tension in this region. Because Isfahan is of course, Isfahan, the city itself, is very important with very historical background and historical importance inside Iran. But then the more important about Isfahan and surrounding areas of Isfahan, there were several nuclear sites, and when Israel decided to attack these several nuclear sites, it might lead to further escalation of rivalries and the hatred of Iranians towards Israelis. So that might lead to further retaliation, lead to further and more stronger waves of Iranians' retaliation efforts against Israel in the future, and the tension in this region will rise.
That was Professor Wang Jin on the strategic importance of Isfahan and its role in the region. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says China opposes any action that will escalate tension in the region. A spokesperson also says China firmly supports Palestine to become a full member of the United Nations. Earlier, a Chinese envoy to the UN said China is very disappointed in the U.S. decision to veto a draft resolution on admitting Palestine as a UN member. Chinese UN Ambassador Xu Cong underscored the importance of membership for Palestine.
独立建国是巴勒斯坦人民几代人的夙愿。
Establishing an independent state has been the wish of generations of Palestinians, and officially becoming a UN member is a key step in that process. Palestine submitted its application in 2011, but was delayed because of objections from certain countries. 13 years have been long enough, but some countries are still complaining it's not yet time and shouldn't rush to action. Such claims are insincere. Compared with any other time, it's even more urgent now to admit Palestine as a full member of the United Nations.
The envoy said China will continue to make efforts in order for Palestine to enjoy equal rights as other UN members. The United States says it believes the Palestinian Authority and Israel should directly negotiate for statehood. Palestine called the U.S. veto unfair, immoral, and unjustified. Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
The outcome of this meeting inside the UN Security Council chamber was a foregone conclusion. However, there was widespread expectation that it would not end the way it did. In the end, though, the United States stopped the UN from recognizing Palestine as an official state by using its veto in the Council. And Palestine's hopes to become the 194th member of the UN dashed.